Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of Ballet International. Today we have a new guest, and this guest is really an important one. It's an important artist of ballet. His name is Mr. José Luís Vieira, and he is working in Portugal. And of course, he started ballet as a dancer, then he became an excellent ballet teacher, and now he's also working as choreographer. So, good morning, Mr. José Luis Vieira. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. I'm fine, thank you. Just looking forward to sharing with you some of my experiences.
You are mostly welcome in Ballet International, and I'm always pleased when you give comments about the video, about also how other people are commenting, and sometimes you give the right correction about the comments, and I'm very pleased about that.
Thank you. I tried not to be very acute in my comments. I always like to be positive and not very negative, but sometimes I cannot help doing it.
I know. Sometimes it's the thing is much stronger than what you want to do. And so, may I call you Mr. José directly?
I would like you to call me José. Oh,
José.
José, like
Okay.
in French. Yes, that's it.
José, how did you start ballet? At what age? Was someone in your family encourage you to study ballet, or it came spontaneously from you? And who were your
Okay.
teachers?
Yeah, okay. I was a late starter. I started ballet classes seriously at 15, which is quite late. For today, it's almost unthinkable. But at my age, at that time, it was possible. I started at 15. I used to go to ballet very often. The Gulbenkian ballet was a reference in the dance scene in Portugal. So I used to have lots of connections in the Gulbenkian ballet. I used to go to see every program. And my friends were always telling me, why don't you try to go into the school? Because the Gulbenkian ballet had a school at that time. So since I was 5, I was doing gymnastics. And I thought, well, perhaps because of the gymnastics, it will be easier for me to start. And in reality, it was. It helped me immensely because all the physical preparation that sometimes always we need to do ballet, it was partially was already there. So there was an intensive class of boys starting at that time when I was 15. I went there. They did me a kind audition to see my physical possibilities and capacities. And I start doing class every day at 6:30 in the afternoon after all my studies, because of course I was studying. And since then, I never stopped. I never stopped. I never kind of stopped to think, is this what I want? Because I knew it was what I wanted. Since the beginning, I never posed those questions. I just did it. And I developed a passion that still persists till today. My first teacher was Armando Jorge. Armando Jorge is still living, fortunately. Is a very important person in the ballet scene in Portugal. He was principal dancer with the Gulbenkian Ballet, and he was principal dancer with the Les Grands Ballets Canadiens. And he was finishing his career in Canada, and he came to Gulbenkian, and he started this intensive class for boys. And later on, a few years later, he was the one that started all the process of creating the National Ballet of Portugal. So he's a very important person in the ballet scene, even today, and in my life is the most important person because we are still friends. He was my first teacher, and it's a reference for my development as a dancer, for my development as a teacher, and as a theater person. Because a teacher, it's not only to teach steps, it's not only to teach variations, it's also to teach and to communicate that passion for theater, the way you present, when the curtain opens, the way you present the stage, the way the stage it's arranged, the way the wings are hang, the way the lights are on, and all of these little details that are not details, are very important things, I learned with that man. So he was very important for me in that life. Of course, I had other teachers. In modern, I had Carlos Trincheira. She's not living anymore, but Armand Jorge is and was a very important reference in the beginning of my career. Of course, after so many years, I met so many people, not only in the National Ballet, like important choreographers, but also in Scapino, or in Amsterdam, where I developed where I finished my my career. I met so many important teachers and so many important choreographers that, like Hans van Manen, for instance, and others that influenced my, you know, how many people we met in a dance career. I'm 70 years old now, so a lot of time has passed. And of course, lots of people are in my mind and in my heart.
So when you started at the age of 15,
yes,
did they insert you in a ballet class with other people of 15, or you were with much younger students?
We were a group of late starters. Perhaps one was 15, the other one was 14, 16, all with the same characteristics.
Yes.
And I must say, from that group of boys, only me and another friend of mine that lives in Germany followed the dance world. So just to show you how difficult it was to start at that age and to have the potential or to have the opportunity of pursuing a career in dance.
Well, I think, in my opinion, that while you are building up your technique and you get familiar with ballet when you're young, then it comes alone that ballet opens to you an opportunity to continue, because it comes a certain moment where you realize if you are up to it or not.
Absolutely.
And you realize if technically you can go further, or you are not able to do it, and so you decide to stop and do something different. But I think that many students today have great opportunities because the ballet has evolved, has changed, and the technique also helps the one who maybe don't have all the potential for ballet.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely right. At that age, of course, I was studying. I was in high school. I was at the conservatory learning piano. I was learning English at the British Council, and I was doing ballet intensive classes at the end of the afternoon. So that went on and on. Then I even entered the university in Lisbon in the philosophy course. And doing all that, I had to decide. And I decided that I wanted to dance. So I had enough of all my other things. The only thing I regret, it's not the philosophy studies, because that you can always do during a life. It was the piano. The piano, it's not a frustration, but it's something that I left behind and that I really liked. And I just chose ballet, and that's it. My parents didn't were not against it, so they somehow they encouraged me to do whatever I wanted, which was amazing at that age, at that time, and that's it. That's what I decided, and that's how I followed the ballet career.
And how many years did you study piano?
I studied at the conservatory 3 years.
3 years.
That's not.
You know, when then you become a teacher and you become choreographer, the piano studies help very much, because you must know the tempo, you must know the different type of notes to use for each exercise at the bar. So it was a good opportunity for you to study piano.
Absolutely, absolutely. It helped me immensely. And I have to say that not everybody, to be musical, to be a good dance teacher,
Yes.
has to study piano or has to study musical theory. The musicality has got to be in you. I remember my mother singing fantastically and my father whistling fantastically without a wrong key. Perhaps that's hereditary, but for me, music is part of ballet.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know, I had the chance of working, of course, in the companies where I danced. Of course, there was also always a pianist. And in the National Conservatory, where I just finished 30 years of study, we have at the moment, I guess, 14 musicians playing for the students, between pianists, guitar players, percussionists. I think we have 14 musicians, and it's a very good opportunity. Perhaps we don't have fantastic logistic installations still in Lisbon, but at least we have that, and that's precious, because you know how important a pianist is in the ballet class.
Yes. And now that you teach, you give class, do you find it a difference giving a class with a pianist and or recorded music?
It's completely different, and I'm not having, but in the first classes that I taught, because this is very recent, I finished, the performance was in July, my last performance as teacher in the conservatory, and in October I start teaching in some contemporary companies and private schools in all over Portugal, and I had to adapt, and now it's okay, I can do it. I can do it with Bluetooth, with my telephone in my hand. It feels like another world, but it works. I have a playlist, that I can do. I'm not fantastic with computers, but that I can do. And I try to choose different musics, because it gets boring, how it gets boring. For me, it gets
yes, otherwise it becomes boring, always the same music in the same class, and
yeah. If something I would like to highlight in this opportunity and in this interview, it's the importance of a pianist in the studio, not only in the companies, but mainly in schools.
Yes.
The importance of a pianist, it's crucial. It's crucial if the teacher gives the right importance to the pianist, because, perhaps some people, or back in a little bit older times, the pianists were just there. And now, for instance, I consider the pianists, the class, as almost a duo, the ballet teacher and the pianist. And
it's an integral, important key for the ballet class.
Absolutely. Even to explain some tempi or some musics, where this music comes from, if I don't know, the pianist is there with all the knowledge. He can participate in the class. He can help the students. He can clarify whatever doubts the students have. So that's really, for me, it's crucial to have a good pianist that plays good music.
This is, I think it's a very important part of the interview that you have opened now, because not many people highlight the piano music and how important it is in a ballet class, in a ballet school.
Yeah.
But because also not many ballet school can afford to have a pianist. I mean, today to have a pianist who comes and play for several ballet classes, not only for one, it costs a lot. It
I
costs.
understand.
So many ballet school opt for the recording, disc DVD or whatever, and they use it during class. And so when you started the ballet, you were already familiar with the gymnastic movement that helped your body to get prepared to it.
Absolutely.
Which method did you have, Cecchetti or Vaganova?
Well, to be honest, in the Gulbenkian school, we didn't have a specific method.
Yes.
But I think not specifically Vaganova, but the Russian method was more used, especially in the teachers that used to be invited and came from abroad to teach at the Gulbenkian Ballet. That influenced all the dancers of the Gulbenkian Ballet. I think mainly it was the Russian influence, but also English ballet was very important. We had lots of relations with English ballet, mainly English National Ballet and Festival Ballet at the time, mainly before English National Ballet, Festival Ballet. So we had some methods, some styles. And I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad, because when you are educated and when you dance in contact with several methods and several styles, you get richer in your vocabulary, and that's not bad at all. Of course, in the beginning, in the first years of study, I think it's crucial to have a method. And at the National Conservatory, we have the Vaganova method in the school. In the last years of the 8-year course that we have, of course, we tend to be more open and not to follow only the Vaganova. Also because the teachers that teach the last 3 years of the course have different influences, and that it's a bonus for the students to be in contact with other styles and not to be only fixed in one style.
Yes. So you started ballet at 15 years old.
Yes.
And when did you start going on stage?
23. Yeah, it was still a few. I must say that I spoke about the Gulbenkian Ballet, but I have to tell you that after the Gulbenkian school, I wanted to learn more, because I was a late starter and I had friends in Canada, and I spent 2 years in Toronto at the George Brown College, which is at that moment was an interesting school for ballet. So I spent my 2 years in Toronto at the George Brown College studying, and my main teacher was Luís Smith. Luís Smith was a very important ballerina, Canadian ballerina at the time. And I had the opportunity to work with that amazing, beautiful lady that she died already. And that was also very important. When I came back from Portugal after Toronto, immediately I auditioned to the National Ballet and I started my dancing career as professional.
Do you remember the first appearance on stage?
Yes.
How was it?
Was fantastic. It was fantastic. I always felt good on stage. I never felt nervous, almost never. Many years later in Holland, we did many nutcrackers, and in 1 year I was doing the snow pas de deux with all the corps de ballet, and my entrance was with a sitting lift on my hand, all the snow scene, and at the end I had to do the press sitting lift in the middle of the stage. And although I was already a mature professional dancer, I was always afraid of missing that final lift. I never failed.
Yeah.
So it was okay. Now my shoulder still remembers.
Well, it's a greater responsibility for the male ballet dancer to make difficult lifts because he assumes all the responsibility of the ballerina. If something goes wrong, it's never the ballerina, it's always the dancer.
Mostly almost the male dancer, yes. It's
Yes.
almost. She
But
can.
yes, as you say, if you don't have a good gymnastic preparation, then you learn pas de deux, but with more difficulties, because the gymnastic help you for the shoulders, help you for the arms, helps for everything, for the body structure.
Yes, absolutely. Your strength, it's a limitation. If you are not strong enough, it's a limitation.
Yes.
But pas de deux, it's very interesting subject. I taught pas de deux, and I love to teach pas de deux.
Yeah.
You can learn techniques, you can learn lifts, you can learn many things when you teach pas de deux. Yeah. You can have a fantastic teacher or a bad teacher, but you have to be handy.
Yes.
If you're not, it's like bricolage.
Yes.
If you're not good with your hands, you're going to stick a nail in your finger. In pas de deux, you have to have that something. Yes. That tells you if she's off, you have to put her on her leg. Yes. And that I cannot teach. The student, the boy, has to feel if she's forward, you have to pull her back. Yes. To put in easy terms. Yes. So pas de deux is very interesting. You learn, you practice, but you have to have that special something. Yes. That enables you later on to do lots of amazing tricks. Yes.
And because also pas de deux classes have their own syllabus.
Absolutely, and we have to. It's very important to start when you teach pas de deux for the first time here at the National Ballet. We start teaching pas de deux, real pas de deux on point, of course, when the boys are around 15 years old, 15 years sometimes if they are young, if it depends on the. Yes. On the age, we start, and we have to start from from scratch. We have to start from the basic. Yes. If you don't have the basic, you will have difficulties later on.
Yes. Well, the first month of pas de deux, it's more to practice on how to give the weight to a ballerina while she is on point.
Absolutely, it's to find the X, yes. To make verticality. It's the most important.
Exactly. It's like if she is doing an adage, but somebody is holding her waist during the adage.
Exactly.
And I remember that when I was studying pas de deux, many times the teacher was saying to the ballerina, even if you do your pas de deux class on demi-point, never mind, but you have to learn how to distribute your weight during the pas de deux, because a wrong move, a wrong position, if you are leaning too much on the left or on the right or the back or forward, you lose your balance and the boy cannot do anything. He can hold you, but you have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And especially today, I see, I don't know if you might agree with me, in many pas de deux, when the boy is holding the waist of the ballerina, at
Mhm.
our time, the teachers were saying to the ballerina, you have to do the pirouette like if the boy is not holding you. You have to
Absolutely.
do 2 or 3 pirouettes, and the boy just keep the hands around your waist in order that you don't lose the balance. But you have
Yeah.
to do the pirouette alone. Today, we see many boys who turn the hand around the waist to make it more turns, and
Exactly.
it spoils a pas de deux.
Exactly, Jean-Pierre. That's true. That's true. I mean, to
Hmm.
do two, three pirouettes, the girl turning in the middle of the hands of the boys, it's
Yes,
easy. But if you want to put 10 pirouettes in the music for three,
exactly.
that's what happens sometimes.
Yes,
She does two pirouettes and then you keep on pushing and turning, and the music goes on. And even if the maestro is there, if the conductor is there, the conductor cannot hold
no, because
the
otherwise it makes a distortion for the ear. I mean, the music must be. You cannot change the Tchaikovsky music. You cannot change the Don Minkus music. It must be like this, and
absolutely, absolutely.
you must
Yeah.
follow the music.
One of these days, I had to comment in Facebook, and I said I don't want to be very harsh with the dancer or with the student in question, but if you do Don Quixote, for instance, you have 32 fouettes. You can make a pattern. You can do single, single, three pirouettes, but you have to keep the pattern.
Yes,
It's not like one pirouette, three. The next series, you do one, because you don't feel that you can do three. And
yes,
then the next series, you do one, and by chance, you can turn five pirouettes. For
yes,
me, that's not technique.
yes,
Technique and control is this is the pattern. I
yes,
have this music and I want to do one, three pirouettes. And I show the public that I can do that for 16 bars. And
yes,
after 16 bars, I can pass for the single. That's control. It's not like whatever I can do at the moment, I do. That's a
yes,
question of
yes.
taste.
It's also a question of taste. It's a question of, but I think also it depends of the choreographer, because also the choreographer must establish and must say, you must do what I say.
Exactly.
You must not do what you want. Uh,
Exactly.
because even with all due respect to great ballerinas,
Yeah,
great ballerinas must also follow what the choreographer decides.
absolutely.
This is my opinion, but I might be wrong. So what is the role in ballet that you have enjoyed the most?
Well, let me see. Let's say in the National Ballet, I did several things. I didn't do principal roles, but I did lots of soloist roles that I enjoyed a lot, mainly in Raimonda, for instance. I did lots of things. Um, in Serenade,
Mhm.
uh, I danced Serenade, and I think I loved it. I love to do that Balanchine's ballet. I think it's one of my favorite. Um, I remember that I enjoyed immensely dancing Green Table from Curtius. I learned it from his daughter that was here in Portugal teaching the ballet. And although it's not spectacular, there are no variations, there are no coda. I think all the ballets, all the dancers involved will never forget that sensation of doing green table. In Holland, I did Nutcracker, which is a fantastic ballet with a fantastic score from Tchaikovsky. Some people say, "Oh, I'm so tired of flower waltz." you're tired of flower waltz, okay, but flower waltz is a fantastic score.
Yeah.
The pas de deux of Nutcracker is a fantastic score, danced or just heard. So I did lots of Nutcrackers there, and I worked with choreographers that were very interesting, like Hans van Manen did lots of pieces for Scapino, and I enjoyed all of them. And of course, I caught Scapino in the transition between the old Scapino and the new Scapino when Niels Christie assumed the direction. And I worked with Niels Christie and I did lots of his ballets. And that was an opportunity to work with a great choreographer that has lots of ballets all over the world. And that's it. I mean, I don't regret any role that I didn't do. I enjoyed all the roles I did. Of course, some of them more than others, but I never made a sacrifice going on stage. If you make a sacrifice going on stage, you've better stay in the wings.
Good. Very, very well said. Very well said. I agree. What are during a performance, sometimes even the great ballet companies, sometimes you may have a funny surprise during a performance, that the light goes off or the orchestra has a problem or that, some dancers have problem with the costumes or sometimes, in the wings something happens that while you are on stage, you don't understand what is really happening in the wings, So have you ever experienced that sort of thing while you were dancing?
I don't have so many experiences of that kind, but I remembered in graduation ball once, one of the main roles, one of my colleagues went on stage with the leg warmers, and that was nothing special, but it was very funny because the leg warmers were really flashy, like yellow and black stripes. And once in Carmina Burana, we did Carmina Burana in Lisbon, it was a fantastic ballet by Herman Jorge. And we had lots of lifts, and it's not really funny, but in one of the lifts going off stage, the girl knocked her head in the lights, and she just momentarily passed out.
Oh.
But she was perfect. It was an English girl, and she, for a few seconds, she was a little bit stunned, and then she said, "Okay, I'm fine. Let's keep on going." And it was really strange for us to see a girl fainting in the arms of a dancer. But for the rest, I don't recall those incidents that can be sometimes surprising or funny. In my career, I never experienced many of those.
She was very lucky, that girl, because sometimes it could be dangerous to hit the head,
Absolutely, but it was just a mild incident. In a way, it was funny because she reacted in a very good way.
Yes.
It could have been serious.
Yes. And in those cases, what happened if instead of being something easy, what happened if there is a replacement, a sudden replacement, but you have to find an alternate?
Yeah, well, I can just refer, for instance, once in one of the many nutcrackers that we did with the Scapino Ballet in all over Holland, the Netherlands. Holland was before, now it's the Netherlands. The main Sugar Plum got injured, and our ballet master, she went on stage. She put her point shoes on that were not hers because she was not supposed to have point shoes. She was not dancing for 5 or 6 years. She put on the tutu, makeup. She did Sugar Plum Fairy.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow. Wow.
I want to. I don't want to say any names, but if she hears this, she will know that I'm speaking about her.
You can send her the interview link. I'm
I
sure
will.
that she will remember.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And how was the atmosphere during a ballet company while you were working in a ballet company as a dancer? Was there something, uh, a solidarity between dancers, or there was a sort of a competition to show who is doing better to achieve a role, a new role in the ballet company?
I perhaps I am an exception, but I have to tell you that I was very lucky because in the two companies where I danced the most, the National Ballet and in the Scapino Ballet, where I danced for 7 years, and in National Ballet I was for 9 years. I had the chance of the company, the National Ballet of Portugal was like a beginning the company, and the atmosphere was absolutely amazing.
Mm.
We were very close. Sometimes, perhaps, depending on the character of the dancers, somebody would say, "Oh, I would love to do this role, and why is she doing that?" But absolutely, meaning no harm. When I moved, and of course, it also depends on the way the ballet masters and the director of the company directs the company.
Mm.
Because at that time there was discipline. There was some discipline in a good way, and discipline helps you to avoid these kind of
Yes,
things.
yes,
That's it.
yeah.
When I went to Holland, the company I had the first director, Armando Navarro, a man I really admired, and I had Nils Christie afterwards, and it was the end of a kind of a generation because I was already 38, 39.
Mhm.
It was the end of my career. And there were other dancers a little bit younger that were also kind of finishing their careers. It was the end of an era in Scapino. And everybody that I still speak with from that time remember those days and those years with lots of good feeling, positive feeling, and we valued the friendship between us.
Mm.
And that was, so I was lucky. In a way, I was lucky because I was dancing for, many years.
Yes,
And I always was surrounded by a good atmosphere. And when there was something that was a little bit less positive, you ignore it.
yes. That is
That's it.
the best way, is to ignore.
Exactly.
Yes. So at what age did you decide to teach?
Well, while I was in Scapino, I had already that feeling that I would like to teach.
Mm.
I was one of the oldest dancers in the company, and although I was not teaching daily classes, I worked with many of my colleagues in variations. I love to pick up a girl and teach a pas de deux and practice a duet or whatever. So I had that feeling that I want to teach. And the opportunity came that the National Ballet of Portugal, the company where I was before, started a course, a technical course I think for ballet students, and they invited me to come. I came. I taught a couple of classes, and they told me, okay, next year, if you finish your work as a professional dancer, you are hired to start teaching here. And that was it. I finished my career in June, and in September, I started teaching in Portugal.
Wow. That
Okay.
is exceptional because there
Okay.
are many other dancers who have to wait from dancing to teaching, they have to wait
I
a long time.
I know that. But of course, when I started teaching, I didn't know everything,
Mm.
but I knew enough to build up and learn as I went, as I teach every day. I had the base to become a good teacher, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't do any teacher's course. I don't have, and I have no problem saying that, any pedagogical studies. And when I came into the National Ballet Conservatory, which is the main ballet school in Portugal from the Ministry of Education, I was hired as by my curriculum, by my we call it recognized competence.
Mm.
And nowadays that doesn't exist anymore. Nowadays we have to do audition the teachers. They have to have a master degree in teaching or in pedagogy,
Yeah.
whatever. And that doesn't mean that they are fantastic. It means that they have to have the necessary documents.
Yeah.
That way of being able to hire a teacher for his or her curriculum, it's very important to be there, because there are certain moments that you need to have that legal way of hiring a teacher.
Mm.
Sometimes we see teachers that still nowadays, very good teachers that finish their careers in important companies, lots of experience. And we, in the audition, we see that they know what they're doing. And they don't have a pedagogical degree, or they don't have a master and we can offer them a ridiculous salary. It's a question of law. It's not a question of
Yes. Yes. Yes.
being able, when we cannot offer them a proper contract with a proper salary, because they don't have that document, those diplomas. Diplomas are not always the most important thing, and you know that.
Yes, I know, because also in France, this question of diploma has brought many discussion.
Absolutely.
They say that it is the government who has set up a rule to force a dance artist to get a diploma, and without a diploma you cannot teach.
Yeah.
And, I don't really agree with this, because there are dancers who can teach because they know what they are doing. And of course, maybe this could be applied to the youngest one
Mm-hmm.
who have less experience. But
Yeah.
a dancer who reaches 40, 45 knows
Absolutely.
already everything, and he's passing on all what he has studied with his teachers. And I mean, you cannot put on in a question and say, okay, now have reached 50 years old, you have to come here, you have to study again how to teach, you go to school, and if you don't have the diploma, you cannot teach. I don't think it is fair for
I,
a great artist.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. I could have been saying the same words, absolutely the same. The experience of a dancer, as in class, in ballets, in costumes, in makeup, in technique, in stage proppings, in everything, it's unreplaceable. There are no course, no diploma that teaches that.
Yes, and also, I don't know if you have noticed, but maybe in Portugal, it is not like in Italy or France or in other countries. But today, this is without any criticism. It's
Uh-huh.
just what I'm just trying to look and to understand is that you see many young choreographers of about 20 25 years old, who make nice choreographies, but there is something missing inside. And yet they are approved, they are accepted in ballet companies, while there are other choreographers who are not young but have more experience. They say to them, no, you are not accepted as a choreographer for a ballet company. So it is also a big challenge for that category of people. It seems like if they only give opportunity to the youngest one, and the people who are after 50 years old, they are put aside. And maybe the one who are 50, they have more experience.
You know, in choreography, it's also, we have to look at the commercial side of it. And perhaps the young generations are, as viewers, as public, they are attracted not by so much by the movement or by the choreographic aspect of a piece, but by the props, the concept, the
message of the choreography,
the impact of the choreography as a performance, lights, smoke, whatever. And there are some fantastic modern choreographers that do that fantastically. And the choreographers, the dancers barely move. They are in the middle, just like bouncing from one side to the other. And that creates an atmosphere that perhaps appeals to the young audiences.
Yes.
That's everything, you know, we are speaking about very subjective things.
Yes.
And against subjectivity, we cannot fight. But when subjectivity hides ignorance, that's a problem.
Unfortunately, yes, I agree. I agree. In Portugal, I have seen that I have discovered that there is a lot of talent. It's a country with a lot of talent. Young people, they succeed in doing ballet class. They succeed in doing big enchaînement. Is that thanks to their talent, or is it thanks also to the talent of the teacher who is following them?
Well, it's very difficult to answer that question. I know that for many years we have lots of talent, that's true. And the National Conservatory, I don't want to make publicity to the school, was responsible for many of the principal dancers and corps de ballet of the National Ballet and many companies around the world. But in the last years, there are a lot of private schools that have developed good teachers because the students are good and we can see that they know what they're doing. So I guess the spectrum is getting larger and larger. And if there's talent, you can channel that talent into being a good dancers. The problem is that sometimes the teachers that are in front of those classes or in front of those students don't see ahead and don't channel the students to a professional career. They are happy that the student at 15 or 16 can do this variation or that variation. And that seems to be enough for them. While a teacher, when is teaching a good student, knows when you finish, I'm already thinking ahead. Where can you go? What job can you look forward? What kind of company would you like? And that's very important. That's the job of a teacher, to think ahead, not only of the moment, and to go to competitions, and that there comes the subject of the competitions that are a goal in itself, and the competition should be a means to acquire technique, acquire contracts, because when you are 17, 18, you need to be seen. And some competitions are very good to show students so that they can get jobs, you know. So that's it. Talent. Yes, there's talent. There's also good teachers, I think. And it's becoming, now that I am more in the private scene, because you know I cannot teach for the National Ballet or for the National Ballet. Yes, I can, but I cannot teach for my school anymore because it's from the government. I cannot be hired as a guest when I left the school in July. But I'm more in the private scene in private schools. And I really enjoy the strength of the boys and girls, the way they want to do, they're really strong-willed students, but they need somebody to channel them, to orient them. After that, what are you going to do? Are you going to university and to be an accountant, or do you want to be a dancer? If you haven't been a dancer as a teacher, perhaps you cannot advise so well. You understand?
Yes, you have to create, as a teacher, you have to give the opportunity and create the opportunity for those dancers.
Absolutely. And enlighten the student what a professional dancer career is, because they don't know.
How many ballet companies do you have in Portugal?
Well, I cannot tell you. Of course, as you know, the Gulbenkian Ballet was extinct already many years ago. What a pity, because it was a fantastic international company. We have the National Ballet company, which is the biggest and the reference in the ballet. And then we have other contemporary companies that are extremely good, extremely good. And that I go sometimes and teach. I try to go every month to one or to the other. There are lots of projects, you know, choreographers that work with projects. They have a project for 6 months. They hire some dancers that are available. They do a project, and then they wait to have money to do the next project. And they are good, but of course they have to be supported. And in Portugal, and perhaps in these southern countries or European countries, there's not the habit of having big companies sponsoring, like in America. You know, in America, the government doesn't support directly the arts. It's all the private companies and corporations that give money. Happily here, happily or unhappily here in Europe, sometimes we need also mecenas, we call it mecenas, right? To increase those companies that need support and to show how good they are. And there are lots of groups and companies here in Portugal with talent, and I've seen it lately clearly.
I have seen a beautiful work coming from the Annarella Ballet School, and her dancers are really exceptional in technique. And what is your point of view about this ballet academy, Annarella Ballet Academy?
I wouldn't like to give an opinion about any specific academy. I just want to say that they are forming really very good dancers, and they have Cuban teachers mostly that are very good, and they also what I can say is that Antonio Casalino was the first dancer coming out of that good school that reached a point of artistry and is a fantastic talent, and that helped of course that helped the school. It's like in my old school in the Conservatorio, I had the chance. Now it's my time to say. I had the chance to take Marcelino Sambé,
Ah,
Principal Marcelino Sambé, with 11 years. He was 11 years old. I took him to a competition in the south of Portugal. I was the first one to take Marcelino to a competition. He was doing drummer boy from, and he was amazing. So
it's an
we,
extremely gifted dancer.
yeah, so we had Marcelino, and of course, if you have a fantastic student,
Yeah,
and if you are a private school, you show that student as an example. And
yeah,
of course, what we need is human material, and
yes.
other students come.
Yes,
And
they will say, I want to become like Marcelino Sambé. So they will come in the ballet
or
school.
like Antonio Casalinho,
Yeah,
which is an amazing dancer. And of
amazing.
course, they come to your school.
Yeah,
And then and as you made Antonio Casalinho or
yeah,
Marcelino Sambé, for instance, you start making other boys and girls develop that.
yes, yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And they have excellent work in that school.
And many people talk about the Prix de Lausanne, which is in Switzerland.
Yes.
Uh, what about creating the Prix of Lisbon? Some, something similar, but in Portugal.
It would be cheaper, that's for sure. I have at the moment we have two students. One ex-student of mine is there in the choreographic project, which is a very interesting part of the Prix de Lausanne, because we are a partner school, and they invite students from the partner schools to create a project with a choreographer, a well-known choreographer. We have one there, and we have another one in the Young Choreographers Award that
Good.
was chosen out of many choreographies. They chose this girl with the choreography and with a Portuguese girl, another interpreter. And we are there. And they are on the phone with me complaining how expensive things are in Switzerland.
Yes.
So if we do that in Lisbon, at least that things are cheaper. So it's better, because going to Switzerland, stay there for a week at least, it's really expensive.
Expensive.
But
Dancers are not millionaire.
absolutely, I know that. But that idea to create a Prix de Lisbonne, it would be, of course, fantastic. It gives a lot. It will give lots of work. We need sponsors, because it's not the Ministry of Culture or the Ministry of Education that is going to sponsor international competition. We need sponsors, but why not? Let's think about that.
You could be a good leader in this creation project.
Okay, I will propose the national ballet director to be a co-producer of that
Yeah, yeah.
international competition.
But I think it would be also a good opportunity for the rest of Europe to come and and dance during a competition. You know, like if it's a Prix de Lausanne, but it's a Prix de Lisbona, that would be wonderful. I mean, a great opportunity for
Absolutely.
for the young dancers of today.
Yeah.
So, in case one day, I'm just jumping from one subject to another. In case one day they tell you, Mr. José, what about directing and becoming artistic director of a ballet company? How would you, what would be the things that you would like to change, to adapt, to modernize at your own point of view?
Well, let me be blunt and very honest with you. If somebody would say that to me, I would say no, thank you.
But in
Uh,
case, just in case you would
just
accept,
in,
what
just in
would be
case.
the changes that you would like to adapt?
Um, I mean, the choice of repertoire, I'm not going to change because actually I agree with the choice of repertoire that they are actually doing in the National Ballet of Portugal. So I would keep it. I would. I am I agree that all classical companies. Nowadays, it's difficult to speak about classical companies. I think all companies, big companies, should have a contemporary part. So they should do contemporary. They should and they need. They need to attract public because not everybody goes to see Giselle and comes out of the theater absolutely marveled and stunned like I do. When I see a good Giselle, that keeps me going for a month. Not everybody is like me or perhaps like you. So we need to attract young students. So a mixed repertoire, I think it's important. And that's what most big companies do. Paris Opera does it, you know, of course.
Also, I see that also Royal Ballet is doing modern works, and many ballet companies now in Europe are doing modern works.
Absolutely, absolutely. They don't go for experimental choreographers. They go for well-established choreographers that they know exactly more or less what they're going to do or to create. But it's very important for what I told you, to attract the young people and also old people, because I love contemporary dance. I dance it myself in Scapino with the transition from the Scapino from Armando Navarro to Nils Christie. He introduced lots of modern dance, and he came from the Netherlands Dance Theater with all that heritage from Jerry Killian. So I think it's, for the dancers, it's very important to be in contact with the modern contemporary repertoire. It makes them a better dancer as classical dancer and makes the contemporary dancer better as classical dancer. I think one things complement the others. There comes the issue of injuries.
Yes, because one technique and the other is a little bit different. One is more for the turn out of the leg, and the other one is sometimes the choreography demands turn in legs instead of turn out. So doing this type of work every day brings problem with the knee, with the hips, with the ankle. And I think also that the type of training it depends of the ballet company, of course, but the ballet training is very tough, either for the classic and for the contemporary. But I mean, you start the work in the morning, and you end up at the late evening after the performance, and the next day you start it all again and again and again. But you don't give the opportunity to the dancer to have a type of class of relaxation, of stretching the muscles, of rehabilitation. So this is the type of class that I am more keen to give to the dancers to understand the mechanic of the body, of the human body, and it improves then the classical ballet and the contemporary. But you need to give a medicine, something that heal the classical ballet and the contemporary. And this is why many great dancers have problem with the knees, have problem with the back, have problem with the shoulders. All the joints have problems. But I see so many, it's incredible.
I think I agree with you, and I think that the ballet class, even for classical, let's say classical companies, ballet class are changing, are more going into the direction that you are speaking of, because I've seen several classes that don't start with the plie. You cannot start the class with incredibly nowadays. You have to start, when I teach contemporary companies, I teach a ballet class, but I teach them 15 minutes of the floor before, not a floor bar, but some exercises that I devised, I don't know, I invented, to help them to warm up, stretch.
Gradually, yes, slowly.
And then when they stand up and go to the bar, they are ready to do a classical class. And that it's absolutely essential that many modern companies, they just do a modern repertoire, realize that doing a ballet class, it's good for their dancers, improves the contemporary qualities, improves the lines. Of course, there are dancers that don't like that, and so they have to choose another kind of repertoire. But if there's a ballet class every morning, even with those changes, with those improvements, I think it's essential, and it's beneficial for both modern and classical. What I wanted to say is that nowadays the challenge of being a dancer, doing both repertoires, like classical and contemporary, it's very demanding for the body. Because if you do only classical ballet, you know what you are doing. You know that you have to turn out. And of course, if your foot is not aligned with the knee, you have the chance of twisting the knee and you got injuries. You know what you count off with. You know what you put in jeopardy. But if you go, and when you go to do a contemporary repertoire, you don't know what's coming. You don't know what the choreographer is going to invent more to make it more interesting, because the contemporary dance is so interesting because it takes the things to an extreme level. And sometimes the dancers, and of course the public, likes to see that risk. You take the risk and you take the movement to an extreme. And that's what some choreographers that are very physical, some modern choreographers are not physical at all, and that's not a cup of tea. If you have that physicality, you take your dancers to the limit, and that limit is dangerous. Yes. That's why nowadays dancers that do both classical and contemporary perhaps don't have such long careers as before.
Yes.
Yeah.
I understand. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I also see that in Russia, in the big ballet companies, they are adapting modern work, like you say, with the classical ballet technique, mixing the contemporary technique in modern choreographies, and they give wonderful results. It's beautiful to see. I mean, these new ideas popping out, and developing also new style of ballet, but always linked with classical base.
Are you talking about more neoclassical style?
Yes, neoclassical style, and I have seen a ballet company in Russia, but I don't remember the name, who is working on that type.
Okay.
And they do beautiful work. There is another also country which makes beautiful work on contemporary, which is Israel, in Jerusalem, the Jerusalem Ballet Company, which is directed from Nadia Timofeyeva.
Okay.
And he created a beautiful modern ballet with an interesting subject, and the dancers are very strong also.
Yeah.
And so I think that what you have mentioned now is developing in many countries, this idea.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you are a good choreographer, and if you are musical, and if you have good dancers, you can do amazing things. Yes. You know, what I've been choreographing mainly for the school, it was always on point.
Yes.
but not classical, really neoclassical style.
Yes.
And I like to work also in terms of pas de deux, partnering, not pas de
Yes.
deux, but partnering. I think it's something I like. I always liked, and I've been developing that. So I think yes, of course. Now using classical ballet as a means to invent, to evolve. I think it's very interesting, but you need for that, you need to have good dancers, classical dancers.
Yes. Well, what do you
Okay?
think about Roland Petit and Maurice Béjart?
You ask me difficult questions sometimes. I like to talk, but sometimes you ask me difficult
I
questions.
know, I know.
I think Bejar was a fantastic choreographer. I think he was very creative, and I think he's a name that is you cannot ever forget in the 20th century. He's how do you say a marking stone in the history of ballet. He created amazing choreographies. He developed enormous artists that I don't have to say the name that worked with him. And I really enjoyed it. Nowadays, I have that background, those memories, but I don't see those ballets the way I saw them then. When I see those ballets, I'm not very impressed anymore because I changed, my taste changed. I've seen new things.
Yes.
Roland Petit, I never enjoyed so much.
Mm.
I think he has interesting work. He also worked with amazing dancers that
Yes.
developed from the Roland Petit company. But I never enjoyed so much his choreographies.
Yes.
But that's what I was telling you is that sometimes even great dancers from our time and even before our time,
Yeah.
I like to see them as a little jewels and like antique jewels.
Yes.
I cannot see, I cannot watch them with my eyes of the present,
Yes.
because when I watch them with my eyes of a professional teacher, I see things that I don't like, and I think they're not technically perfect. You know, I see them, I put them in that period of time, and I enjoy them.
Yes. I
See,
totally agree with you. Totally agree.
that's
Because I
that's
have the
the
same feeling when I see some ballets of Roland Petit and Béjart.
I didn't want to speak about names. That's why
No, no,
I was
I
not
know, but
expecting.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah, but if you ask me something like if do you like Cranko?
Yeah.
I love Cranko. Macmillan, it's a genius.
Yes.
Genius. Genius. Pierre Lacotte, is genius. And they're not contemporary choreographers. They come from the classical world. They are classical.
Yes.
They are amazing names.
Yes.
And I won't say any more names.
So when you give a ballet class, do you uh, prepare yourself a few hours before or the day before? You have in mind adage, allegro, and this, or you just go there spontaneously and you launch yourself? How it goes, it goes.
Well, let's say if I go to teach, if I'm teaching at my school, because I just finished a few months ago. So let's suppose that tomorrow I'm going to teach my boys. I would be teaching the last year of boys,
Yes.
last year of the course. I know that in the last year of the course, they know all the syllabus.
Yes.
Need is to practice, get better, and get more virtuos in what they know.
Yes.
It was in batterie, in turns, in jumps, in all that, and in, of course, and in expression wise as well. So I don't need to prepare because I know exactly what they need. I can do. I have my pianist there, and I can do. I know what I'm doing, and I do, and I just teach. And of course, I teach consequently. I know the progression of the class, so I know exactly what to do. If you ask me if some company invited me, for instance, if I go to teach the National Ballet, which is a group of classical dancers, a big group, of course I will be more kind of conscious of what I'm asking. If you go to a big company, some dancers don't like difficult exercises. Some others don't like to do much batterie. Others like to turn a lot. So you have to know exactly what to do. So I think I would study a little bit more my class, like not right, but some topics to teach. But when you are, I taught for 34 years. I'm teaching for 34 years. I got to a point that with the right music, there comes the music again, the music issue. With the right music, with the pianist, I can teach anywhere, any moment. If I see the age of the students, I know what I'm going to do. If they are middle course, I know what I'm going to do. If they are professionals, I know that I can do whatever I like and they will enjoy, because I like to teach in the music.
Yeah.
I like exercises with musicality, with different rhythms.
Yeah.
So that's it. For me, teaching is really a pleasure. It's something that I really love to do. And I learned that with my career.
Because you do it with passion.
Absolutely.
With real
Absolutely.
passion. Yes.
My students are always asking me, but teacher, you only think of ballet? No, I think also of other things, because you are always showing us this and showing us that and sending messages. And yes, because that's my relation with my students. We are very close. We used to be, 1.5 hours every day together working, and that develops a bond.
Yes.
That's what I miss more this year, that it's my first year in retirement, let's say. That's what I miss more. It's the contact with my students.
Yes. Yes. But do sometimes your students call you, or they send you a message?
Absolutely. We still have a group on WhatsApp, and we are always in contact. And I go to the school, not every week, but every 2 weeks I go to the school.
And how do they respond when they see you as a
Oh,
visitor again? And
it's a joy. It's a joy to be with them and to see that they are, because my students are finishing the course my last class is finishing the course this year. So I taught them till the 7th year, and now they are in their last year with a excellent teacher, ex-dancer from the National Ballet, Carlos Pinillos from Spain, is teaching them. So it's always a pleasure to go there and see the class and speak with them, and it's always a pleasure.
Now, to return to what you have said, you have said that when you go to a ballet company, there are some dancers who like more pirouette. There are some others who prefer to do more jumps. There are others who prefer to make the grand tour. Everyone has a different like in the heart. But do you agree that a ballet teacher has to please always the dancer to make what they want?
No. I think
agree. With your no, I agree.
I think a ballet teacher has to have a personality. When you come into the studio, you have to be sympathetic with the dancers, and you have to keep a certain authority. You are the teacher, and if you can keep that authority with being nice at the same time, dancers will respond well to you. Of course, one or two might not do the exercise, but you just ignore that. And you can teach your class, and I'm sure that they will respond well to you. But you have to keep a certain kind of
discipline. Yes.
Discipline with even if you are teaching the Kohlberg. I once went to teach the Kohlberg, the old Kohlberg. I had a friend dancing there, and he arranged that for me to get in contact with the directors. And I went to teach for a week there, and there were some old dancers from the Kohlberg, really big names, and I was a little bit like, it was many years ago. Oh my God! It was wonderful. It was really wonderful the way they respond to me, and I will never forget that. I was a little bit nervous, but then after the class started, I forget everything.
Yeah. Does it ever happen to you when you have to meet new dancers or new ballet company that you are a little bit, how we say in French, sur le qui-vive, that you are a little bit nervous inside, but you are adopting a sort of camouflage, in order that you don't show to people that you are a little bit nervous. How do you manage to do that?
Well, that depends on your personality, Jean-Pierre. I am very, like you might have noticed, it's the first time we are speaking like that.
Yes.
I'm very open. Yeah. And I think if you are open from the beginning with the people you are speaking to, being the director or whatever, the masters of the company, if you keep this at ease, if you speak with, if you are secure, if you are honest with yourself and with the others, I think there's no problems. Of course, I won't be like completely open, like an open book in my first contact with the director, Yeah. I keep a certain restraint, yeah. But as soon as I see there's a possibility of showing in reality what I am, I will do it.
Good. Have you ever performed in character roles?
Yes. I mean, real character roles, if you can call it, yes.
Like Dr. Coppelius or the...
Yes. That's funny that you said that, because I was going to tell you that when I stopped dancing in Holland, I came to teach in Portugal, and I still did a few character roles. Yeah. I had the chance of doing Dr. Coppelius with the National Ballet, and I learned from John Old. John Old is a fantastic, it is dead now, but he was a fantastic teacher and choreographer, and his Coppelius was very interesting. So he taught me Dr. Coppelius, and I did Dr. Coppelius with, I have a nice photo of Coppelius, really bold with those hair. It was, I really enjoyed it. So I did Dr. Coppelius. I did Master of Ceremonies in Cendrillon, Cinderella. I did Rothbard in Swan Lake. Yeah. Things like this, I still did when I was already 40. And that was really a pleasure to do, something I really enjoyed. Of course, now these roles, at the time, the National Ballet was a younger company. Now there are so many older dancers that they give these roles to older dancers of the company, because they don't have so much to dance. But at that time, when I came back from Holland, there was a space for me to guest as an artist, a guest artist. Yeah. So I had the chance of doing character roles, yes.
Because also the role of Dr. Coppelius is very much based on mime and musicality and expression.
Absolutely, absolutely. I did my makeup myself, apart from the wig that it's a rubber, and it's always difficult to put because you cannot see the partition between the skin and the rubber. I did my own makeup. I like to do stage makeup. I did my own makeup, and it came out well. I will post it one of these days. I will post the
Oh,
photo.
that
Don't.
would be lovely. That would be lovely if you can.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, you know, in a Ballet International, in this group, at least I am trying, when you make part of a group, not many people are aware who is who,
Exactly.
what they have done in the past, what
Yeah.
are the skills of those artists. You see important names, but you don't know what they did. So a little bit with the interviews, a little bit with the post, I'm trying to give this feeling of being united between artists and to know each other a little bit more. And this is the idea of Ballet International, is not to be flashy, but is to know each other a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's an excellent idea. I just can make a remark that nowadays people, when they are looking into on the telephone through Facebook and Instagram, they want something. They want to see something very fast. And they just scroll down and up, and they want to see something fast. But I'm sure that's something that is interested in.
Yes, yes.
And if they see an interview like, I don't know, like ours today, for me it's fantastic to be here with you. I don't see the time passing. But for somebody that is watching the
Yes,
phone,
and they will only see maybe 5 minutes and they will stop there.
exactly. So we have to do something flashy to attract the.
Yes, but also you cannot do an interview saying, "Hello, how are you? What have you done?" And then bye-bye, it's finished because
Yeah,
it's
that's too.
not an interview.
Yeah, it's very superficial. It leads nowhere.
Yes. So we have reached the end of our interview, Mr. José.
Good.
What uh, what is the message that you would like to leave to the young dancers, of course, not only for Portugal, but also to the rest of the world who is watching you? Um, what is the message that you would like and the hope that you would like to give about ballet, about the art, and about loving this art more and more and more, and how to preserve the art form in the next decades?
Well, I think I would like to tell them that dancing at a higher level, at a high level, it requires dedication and some sacrifice. Sacrifice is a strong word, but that's the word I used. So to be, how do you say, perseverance?
Yes,
Yes,
perseverance, yes.
perseverance is in French. So to be dedicated to what they're doing, not to think so much of the future, but also to live in the present in terms of, let's see what I'm doing, be careful with my body, because the body is my instrument. And let's choose the company or the group that I really like. If you don't like a certain kind of company, don't go into that company. There are other ways that you can be yourself, that you can be good. You don't have to dance is not to find a job. It's to find a job that you love. It's not the same as I'm going to work in a bank because that's the job that is available. It's difficult. It's different. So dance, it should be not, perhaps not everybody is as passionate as I am or you are, but dance is a passion. And also to be creative in a way, the way you approach what you do. You have to be not only reproduce movements, reproduce choreographies, you have to have an input of your personality in what you do. There are choreographies and companies that allow that more than others. Be yourself, and try to think what is best for you in the future. because the career is short. The career of a dancer is short, and not everybody can be a teacher. Not everybody can be a ballet master.
Yes.
You have to know the way you can help dance after. There are other ways, not only ballet master or choreographer. That's for something, for somebody only. As dancing, dancer, to be a dancer is for a certain group, a restricted group of people. And let's always try to that restricted group for dancers and for teachers and choreographers. It's the contrary. Public has got to be bigger. We have to have public, because if we don't have public, ballet, classical ballet, to speak directly, will not have a brilliant future. We need to keep the art going in a way that attracts public. That's what worries me the most at the moment.
Yes.
So that's my message.
It's a beautiful message. Do you think today there is a lack of missing new composers for ballet? I mean, I'm returning to Tchaikovsky, to Minkus, to all the beautiful music that we still use in our modern days. But in our modern days, there are no composers who have created something for new ballet. Maybe a few, but not many as before. Do you think that this involves problems in the culture of ballet over tomorrow?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because, you know, classical music, the way we call it, classical music, it comes till yesterday, still classical music. There are classical composers. There are so many. We have so many beautiful music in the beginning of 19th century and going backwards. Yes. There's so many beautiful music. Look at the Baroque music. How many Baroque artists, composers we have. And I know lots of teachers and lots of choreographers that would like to work with Baroque music. The problem is that the Baroque music, you have to have ear, because there are so many accents. I think there are still so many music to be discovered. Modern composers, what if they compose? I think it's difficult to compose for ballet with a modern syllabus, musical syllabus. I think it's very abstract. And it depends also on what kind of ballet you want, because if you want to tell a story, you need a certain kind of narrative music. If you don't need to tell a story, if you just want to create an ambience, an atmosphere, you just need a note.
Yes.
It's different than, once I was dancing on stage. We were doing Romeo and Juliet here in Lisbon, in Teatro São Carlos, and somebody in the audience stood up at the end and cried, cried. Viva o ballet com história. Vive le ballet avec histoire. Somebody that really liked to go and see a ballet with something, with a history behind, with a story behind. So that's if you want to have that kind of ballet, you need a narrative music. If you need modern ballet, sometimes doesn't need that. So perhaps there are so many modern choreographers that have music that can be used for ballet.
Yes, I totally agree. So, Mr. José, I wish to thank you for the beautiful interview that you have given today to the Ballet International members, and also to the people who will follow you on and watch your interview on YouTube.
Thank you.
Do you give me the permission to upload your interview on YouTube channel?
Absolutely. You're most welcome to do it.
Thank you very much. And so I will send you the link of YouTube, and that you can forward to your students of
Exactly.
Portugal and to all your ex-colleagues of dance and to all the people and artists that you wish them to watch your interview, because today it was really a beautiful interview and I was very pleased about that, and especially how you highlighted your skills as a professional artist. And I was very pleased to hear and to listen to what you have said. And
Thank you so much.
I was very impressed also because you gave me the opportunity to discover and learn new things.
That's very touching for me to hear somebody like you saying that. Thank you so much. And
So you stay online for the moment. Now we conclude. Is there anything that you would like to add? Maybe that you have forgotten?
No, I think I've spoken enough.
Spoken of. Okay.
I think I've spoken enough. I think it can be interesting for somebody that can start to listening to our conversation, and if they find interesting, I think they will follow because I think it was interesting to speak with you. Okay.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for following the interview of Mr. José Luís Vieira. Thank you again to everyone.